Hello and welcome to this presentation on addressing water challenges through effective partnerships. My name is Alex Kandarakis, Head of Communications at Global Water Partnership Mediterranean. So what are the key water challenges in the Mediterranean, especially focusing on islands? First of all, we have the increasing impacts of climate change, clearly, that are manifested through drought, but also extreme weather events. Then there's the issue of very different needs according to season. So in the summer in particular, water demand really explodes, and that is very much due to tourism and agriculture. We also have the issue of poor water efficiency. So infrastructure, irrigation networks, for example, are very old, very often break down, and we have water losses, and there's a lack of human and financial resources to maintain or upgrade them. And then there's also limited awareness as to the importance of conserving water, of limiting waste, and this clearly restricts action. What does this mean in practice for Mediterranean islands? It means we get water shortages. Very often there's just no water on the tap. It means that water quality is impacted. So in most Greek islands, it's very sad, but you can't drink water from the tap. You need to buy bottled water, and that has a big financial cost, but also environmental cost. There's also an increased reliance on desalination, but desalination is actually very energy intensive and extremely expensive, especially with the recent energy hikes. And then we get increased competition between sectors. So we get competition between tourism and agriculture. Both want a lot of water and need it in the summer. So who is going to get it? And obviously managers face a problem there on how to allocate water. And finally, we have very often a very detrimental impact on ecosystems who actually very often have no voice, so they can't demand more water as tourism or agriculture can. But still they need it in order to maintain ecological flows, to maintain habitats, ecosystems. It's very necessary. So these are a few headlines. Actually, most of them are quite recent. And I don't know if you've heard of these problems in the Greek islands. It's not the image that we get about Greek islands as idyllic holiday retreats, but it's true. And even islands, as we see here, like Mykonos, very rich island in terms of the tourism it attracts, actually gets very severe water shortages. And the same in Crete and in most Greek islands. So what can be done? What is the solution to all this? And often we find that the solution is not really complex innovation or technology that needs to solve all these issues. It's very much a question of coordination, collaboration, and synergies. And the reason is that these issues are very much interlinked. This is what the concept of the water, energy, food ecosystem nexus tries to convey. So here we're trying to put forward the notion that when you take a decision on water or energy or agriculture, you're actually impacting all the other sectors as well. But most often these connections are hidden, they're not explored, and the result is like you have a double bed with a shorter blanket, and you're tugging at the blanket, you're trying to keep one part of the bed warm. So let's say you're trying to get energy security, but you're using too much water for hydropower, or to build a hydropower plant, you're actually impacting the ecosystem, the river, very negatively. So you're kind of you're using the blanket well in one part of the bed, but the rest of the bed is exposed. And this is no way to create sustainable solutions. And then you have other factors as well that are linked to this complexity. The fact that responsibilities are very often fragmented between ministries, between administrations. Also, you get a lack of funding, especially for big infrastructure projects that are very demanding in terms of resources. Then you have the issue that all this centralized planning, even if it's done well and taking into account all the complexity, you need to actually make it relevant to what local communities understand and need and want in their day-to-day reality of being a farmer or of water use in households. And this is another level, it adds another layer of complexity. But without engagement of local communities, there can be no sustainability. And all this ends up to the question of how can we build economically and environmentally sustainable solutions. So the other side of the coin for presenting potential solutions to all these complex issues is coming from growing corporate demand for supporting applied solutions. What does this mean? That companies have a growing awareness of the business risk of water scarcity, and they are increasingly aiming to offset their direct water consumption in their industrial operations by implementing projects in the river basins where they operate. And this is based on concrete key performance indicators that are applied on whatever project they will support. So whether it's an infrastructure project or using non-conventional water resources applications or even nature-based solutions, it has to come up with a concrete volume of water that is returned to society and ecosystems. And many well-known companies are more and more setting targets to really offset the entirety of their water use. So is this growing corporate agenda of water replenishment, is it a good opportunity for actually addressing some of the challenges that we discussed before? We actually think it is a great opportunity to do this. Why? Because this is more just than a technical intervention, which you can see in the red circle, which is very important. This is the part that actually returns the water, but it's much more than that. It is a project that is engaging communities and stakeholders, and actually companies can use their local reach and presence to boost the success of this process of stakeholder engagement. It is also a process of communicating and raising awareness around the importance of conserving water resources, of using new technologies, of maintaining infrastructure. And then there are the parts of innovation and best practice dissemination, and of course, building up capacities. Finally, what is this agenda not, and how can it go wrong, and what do we need to be aware of? That this is not just a technical implementation of an infrastructure project or even a nature-based solution. It is an integrated project, engaging stakeholders, raising awareness, building up capacities, and this is the only way to involve the whole of society and create something sustainable. It's not just a technical project that somebody flies in, implements it, and leaves without engaging society and all the relevant actors. Also, it's not only related to private interests, so it relates to the needs of a community. It would not be implemented in a company factory. That's not the logic of a water replenishment project that gives back to society and ecosystems. Also, it's not a certification of a company's overall sustainability profile and performance. So it's not necessarily a green company if it's implementing a water replenishment project. That is a much more complex exercise that requires many different types of assessment.